She started with the jar. She read the congressional report. She read the lawsuits. She read the labels on every product still sitting in her kitchen. And then she did what most mothers do when the first answer leads to another question. She kept pulling the thread. She started asking things no one had asked her before. What was in the air in the neighborhood where they lived when she was pregnant? What was her husband exposed to before Jaden was ever conceived? Why are there 5 children on the same 3 blocks with the same diagnosis? These are not conspiracy questions. These are the questions the research is actively trying to answer. I followed that thread with her. This is what the file found. Autism spectrum disorder has risen significantly over the past 3 decades. Scientists are clear that part of the rise reflects better detection, expanded diagnostic criteria, and greater awareness. But the research has also identified a growing body of environmental risk factors that cannot be explained by diagnosis alone. The first thread: pesticide exposure. A 2024 peer-reviewed study found that children living in areas of high agricultural pesticide use were 1.24 to 1.44 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder than children in low pesticide regions. For boys specifically, the likelihood was more than double that of girls in the same regions. That research does not tell us why. It tells us the pattern exists, and that the pattern deserves an answer. The second thread: what was in the father's body? Research across multiple large-scale studies has documented an association between advanced paternal age and an increased risk of autism in children. The mechanism researchers have identified as sperm DNA and what age does to it. The sperm DNA used to build a child carries more changes, both spontaneous mutations in the DNA sequence itself and shifts in how genes are expressed. The research at the University of Leuven focused on that second category, identifying specific age-related changes in sperm DNA methylation that may contribute to autism risk in offspring. 2 different mechanisms, both accumulating with time. This is not about fault. It's about what the body carries when the environment has been working on it for years. The third thread: what the parents were exposed to and what that exposure did to the children they had not yet conceived. A 2024 study found that parental exposure to chemical toxicants was associated with an increased risk of autism and ADHD in their children. The exposure most relevant was not in the children. It was 1 generation back. What this means precisely is still being studied. What it suggests is that the environment your father lived in may have shaped the biology you were born into. I want to be careful here. None of what I've told you is a verdict. The research shows associations. It identifies patterns. It raises questions the system has been slow to answer. What caused Jaden's diagnosis is not something this file can tell you. Autism is not one thing with one cause. Any honest researcher will tell you that. What this file can tell you is that the questions his mother is asking are the right questions, and that the urgency with which the system has investigated them does not match the urgency of a mother up at 2 a.m. trying to understand her son. The Creator did not make Jaden broken. He was made with the same precision as every child before him, the same ancient regulatory intelligence, the same capacity for language, connection, and understanding. What the research is uncovering is not a defect in him. It's a question about what was in the soil he came from, what was in the air his parents breathed, what was in the jar his mother trusted, what was accumulating quietly in the biology he inherited before he was born. Those are not Jaden's failures. Those are the open files. Before this file closes, one classified drop. Research, CDC, Autism Environmental Research Funding, 2024. Look at how much has been allocated to study the environmental connections we just discussed. Then, look at how much has been allocated to study the genetics alone. The gap in that funding is also a file. Jaden's mother is still awake. The browser tabs are still open. The questions don't have neat answers yet, but she's asking them, and that matters. Because the system moves at the speed of funding, and funding follows attention. And attention starts with a mother who refused to accept a pamphlet as an answer. This is Agent Naomi Eden. If you've been told the answer is genetic, and that is where the conversation ends, the conversation has not ended. The file is still open. She's still looking. That's not grief. That's a mother doing the work the system never did. The file is yours now.